if you know the words. Well, you done me and you bet I failed to try to be you, but you're so hot that I'm empty. I fell right through the cracks. Now I'm trying to get back before the kunai run out. I'll be giving it my bestest, and nothing's gonna stop me but divine intervention. I reckon it's again my turn to win some or learn some, but I won't hesitate no more, no more. It cannot wait. I'm yours. Da da da. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, open up your mind, see like me. Open up your plans and then you're free. Look into your heart and you find love, 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 love. Listen to the music of the moment, people dance and sing. We're just one big family, and it's our God-forsaken right to be loved, love, 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 love. So I won't hesitate no more, no more. It cannot wait. I'm sure there's no need to complicate. Our time is short. This is our fate. I'm yours. I've been spending way too long to get my tongue in the mirror, bending over backwards just to try to see it clearer, but my breath fogged up the glass. And so I drew in the face and I laughed. I guess what I'll be saying is there ain't no better reason to rid yourself of vanity. Just go with the season, it's why we aim to do. Our name is our virtue, but I won't hesitate no more, no more. It cannot wait. I'm yours. There's no need to complicate. Our time is short. This is our fate. I'm yours. Open up your mind, see like me. Open up your plans and then you're free. Look into your heart and you find that the sky is yours. No, please don't, please don't, please don't. There's no need to complicate, because our time is short. This is our fate. I'm yours. Jason Mraz, Fallbrook legend. Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. What a beautiful song on a beautiful morning. It's gorgeous outside. It's so, I'm just so grateful that you guys are here. Welcome. Good to have you guys. Yeah, all kinds of stuff. So we'll start with announcements, I think, first. Of course. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to express gratitude for the decorations. I know that Liz and Andrea and I think Noreen and Charla and Sherry and Marilyn, who is watching virtually. I talked to you this morning. Hello, my dear. For all of those guys who showed up and decorated the place, it looks beautiful. Thank you so much. So that's happening. And look at that, Christmas Eve, there's a slide. And I'm very excited about Christmas. I always like Christmas Eve service. We've had our ups and downs with it. There was the year that I talked about George Orwell on Christmas Eve. What a year that was. But
Everything's connected.
everything is connected, and this is what unmedicated ADD looks like, if you've ever wondered. So anyway, this one, it's going to be really good. We're going to have Ron and Bell back like from last year. So we'll have some nice Christmas music. Lee will be here. We'll have some fun. And also Liz wants to say something about Christmas Eve as well.
It's a little early, but for Christmas Eve. Here you go, honey. Okay, so it's a little early, but we want to just try to tell everyone we would love to have you bring goodies, but if you bring goodies, don't bring food in the sense of something that you need silverware for. So think of finger food or desserts, and we would love to have you. So thank you.
Okay. So finger food, yeah. Unless, of course, desserts. I was going to say cassoulet, which is very traditional in France, but it takes this amount of time to confit the duck, but probably won't happen. So that's happening. Let's see. Mantras with Magdalena. Thank you very much. Mantras with Magdalena is happening not today, but it's happening next Sunday. And if there was some confusion, some of you did not, and up until like Thursday night, I wasn't expecting to be here. I got my dates of when I was off confused. But anyway, so she'll be doing Montrose then, so that's happening. There's a kids program. I think Susie's down there right now, waiting for kids. No, she's not? Made that up? I thought I saw her this morning. Nope. Okay, I'm just imagining things. Okay, so anyway, that is happening. Reverend Laura must be there. Who was at the Christmas parade last night? You were there, Gary? Cool. Right on. What was she in? And now your grandkids are showing up. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, you saw Laura as she was floating by, very ethereal-like, yes.
Yeah.
So, I even tried calling and waving at her, but she was someplace else. So, the well-being in the Dow with Reverend Jim Jones, the naturalist, and his books are in the gift shop, and there's still a 20% off, but not on the books. Yeah, there's a 20% discount on everything but those books in the gift shop today. So the money you save, you can buy 2 books. There you have it. Oh, please do.
So jumping back to the class for a second, I just wanted to let people know for the month of January, I won't be here, but we are continuing the classes online. So if you're interested in checking that out, it happens on Friday mornings. You can sign up for the community at kinship.cafe. It's not .com, it's .cafe, and that will get you into the community so that you can see the online live version of it on Friday mornings.
I did know that. So,
What time is it?
7 a.m. Okay, so that's happening. Prayer ministry. Please do not leave without prayer because we love to pray with you, or for you, or with you, or on you. Do I do what afterwards?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'll be in the gift shop helping.
Okay, so Paul will be leading prayer in the prayer circuit. Andrea will be in the gift shop. You can fill out prayer requests in the narthex, and we pray for them. Or you can see one of us after service. Liz, Paul, myself, Andrea will be happy to pray with you. So that's going on. I think that's announcements. That's it. Okay. So 2 things I want to mention before. Well, one thing I want to mention, and then we'll get into the question of the day, is I want to just acknowledge, because I have some brothers at my Masonic Lodge that brought this up to me, and I think it's worth remembering that today is what's known as Pearl Harbor Day. And so that is a day that President Roosevelt said would live in infamy, but I think right now it would be much more prudent for us to live with empathy and compassion. But anyway, just to recognize what it was and how the world changed, and that happened. And with that sort of, I was, sometimes the question of the day shows up in the hot tub, which it did, several things showed up in the hot tub this morning for me today that are relevant to our time here today. And one of them was, I was thinking there's this great line or part of a story. Sam and, you may have heard me mention this before, Sam and Frodo are just, kind of lost in the dead of Mordor. And it's a dismal time, and it's dark, and they're feeling somewhat hopeless. And they're talking about there's no light. And then Sam remembers that Galadriel had given Sam a bit of light from Elendil. And I won't go, you don't need to know all that kind of stuff, except that there was a light. And they began talking about stories of the Shire. And as they began talking about these stories of the Shire, momentarily the stars came up and they could see this. And so it had me thinking, what is the guiding star in your life? What is it that you see that leads you sometimes from, if not darkness, maybe twilight or confusion, but is there a guiding star for you? How about it, Jim? Feel like jumping in? Great.
Yeah, for me, it's the concept of well-being, both at a personal level and society, as well as the environment, is my driving force.
Yeah, mine feels like a continuation of the compassionate humanity that we've seen throughout history. So it's like the critical thinkers, the Enlightenment movement, the ones that use reason to solve problems and use courage in the face of denial of that.
Beautiful. How about you, Andrea?
I'll go along with that. My word is compassion.
All right. So anybody else, what is your guiding star? A couple hands coming up here.
Thank you, and I love this probe. So many things, but I have to say love. Love is my guiding, my North Star.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is underneath that.
Beautiful. Someone else? Okay, we got Sherry in the back there.
I agree with Liz. Love and spreading of kindness and promoting happiness is my guiding star.
Fabulous. You got a whole constellation there. Beautiful.
Every time I've gotten down, I have to remember that I've been loved all my life. I've had people love me, and I have had people to love, and that's my guiding light.
Beautiful.
Being of service to my community, however they show up.
Fabulous. Wonderful. Anyone else? Your guiding star. Your guiding star.
I think for me, it's a sense of clarity, and the clarity in how it transpires into conscious awareness, and that there is a loving awareness. I had one teacher tell me that God is like plays a game of peekaboo, and so sometimes he's present, sometimes he or she or it isn't, and so when that clarity hits, it changes everything.
Beautiful. Love it. Okay. Anyone else? Oh, we got one back here. Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the creator within.
Okay, I love that. The creator within is the guiding star. Anyone else? Oh, now we got that triggered some things in there. Yeah.
I want to say empathy. I think we're often told that humans are self-interested, but one of our truly remarkable characteristics is that we're able to care about the interests and the needs of others.
Yeah. Yes. Larry is right there.
Being open to giving, staying watchful for giving and receiving divine love.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. All righty. Anyone else? Oh, I love it.
Denise said
God loves. Okay, God loves. So Denise in Missouri said that God loves. That is her guiding star. All right. Thank you, we missed you and your beautiful. Yeah, thank you, Denise. Fabulous. All right. With that,
we will use all of this as we go into an invocation. So my name is Andrea, and I am delighted and grateful to be here. I am grateful for all of you showing up and being present with us, sharing our Sunday together, and for all of you online to be here with us, to expand and love and nurture each other. So all of these words, all of these things that we show up for or are our guiding star, that divine within, love, compassion, empathy. This is all the one. This is all the truth. This is all we are within. When we look for this guiding star, this is us. This is everything. And we ask for that divine guidance. We ask aloud. I want to offer this gift, how important it is to ask. Yeah, we talked about that, right? Ask for your love to show up within your heart if the day is challenging. It's in there. We all have it, and it's all around us. Remember that we are not alone, and in all circumstances, in all conditions, in all places, each of us knows in our own divine way that there is a truth and a love and a brilliance that is there for us as it shows up in our four-legged ones, as it shows up in the winged ones, as it shows up in all of nature, to remind us that we are interconnected, that all of love and all of life flows through, and sometimes hidden and sometimes not. Asking, speaking to consciousness as I am now. So I hold these truths dear to my heart, and I evolve with them from moment to moment and day by day, that all these things are my guiding star. At any moment, at any time, may I feel nurtured and may I feel loved. And if we are one, that is for you. May you feel nurtured. May you feel loved. May you always know that it is here in the moment to take a breath. And we ground, and we remember, and we listen, and we know. We know, we know, we know. I know that I am one with the light in this moment and the next. And to this light, if I forget, remind me. I trust that you will. I know that you do, because we are one. So to the grace, I say thank you. Thank you to nature. Thank you to Father, Mother, God. Thank you to the goddess and all that is. Thank you to Rev Guy for being here with us and showing up and being his divine self. Thank you to Lee, and thank you to Jim for showing up and being their divine self. And to each and everyone, everyone, everywhere, may you know that you are one with the truth and the love and the light. So be it, and so it is. So the reading for today is just an excerpt from a poem by a woman named Andrea Gibson. She's no longer with us. She was a writer and an activist, and this is from her piece, a very brief thing called Timepiece. Regret is a time machine of the past. Worry is a time machine to the future. Gratitude is a time machine to the present. So we have 3 minutes of silent meditation, contemplation. We breathe ourselves, we ground ourselves, we sit within ourselves, we open up our heart and mind, we take a breath. We do this for ourselves and for others. And with a grateful heart, we become present in the room.
There's a song I wrote a few years ago that correlates with the season of giving. It's called The Gift. I'm always making my future self happy. It's gonna be great someday. Obsessed with the truth and hopeful some youth will hear what I'm wanting to say. See, I've changed relations with expectations. Now I know our music's the best. I thought it was magic, but we're sort of tragic. We just wanna know what's next. We love to know what's next. What a gift to wonder. What a life to live. What a time to ponder. What a gift to give. Now I go easy, it's easy to please me, are things I'll keep telling myself. Though I try not to worry, as most things are stories, I seem to be selling myself. I seem to be selling myself. What a gift to wonder. What a life to live. What a time to ponder. What a gift to give. At the birth of a dawn of a new way has come, and the child has something to share. As inside each of us, love keeps on teaching us, though it's scary to care. Slow down through the ages, they got us in stages, now we're getting up to speed. Still I'm at a loss if you're wearing the cross, but bearing the burden it freed. Bearing the burden it freed. What a gift to wonder. What a life to live. What a time to ponder. What a gift to give. Thank you very much. This is Jim Jones, and give it up for our Reverend Dr. Guy Williams. Thank you.
I knew if I didn't get it now, I'd be obsessing with it the whole talk, so thank you for your patience on that. So, my talk today, the second in a series of Advent talks, could aptly be called something that Lee just sang in his song, which is, most things are stories that we try to sell ourselves. So I kind of want to start with that idea as a concept to play with. And sometimes I have a talk written earlier in the week, and then something will happen and it'll shift that, and a couple things happened this morning that kind of shifted that. One of them is that my friend Howard from Rogue River, good morning Howard, sent me a video of a reel of a rabbi, which happens to be the rabbi of his children who are living in the East Coast. And it was really a very delightful one, but one of the things that she talks about there is she's asking this group of people, what is the first day of Hanukkah? And what she says, and I won't get too far into this because that's another talk in a couple weeks when Hanukkah begins, is that Hanukkah always begins on the same day. But in our world, it doesn't, because it seems to shift and change. But what she talks about, she says, because we go by this weird calendar that we go by, but it's exemplified to something that I've been talking about, which is that there are many calendars that make up our life. And we happen to live in an agreement with a calendar, which curiously is a calendar that is named after Roman emperors. And we have the Roman gods as the days of the week. So in many ways, how we keep time is in accordance with empire as a thought. And I kind of want to play that thought out a little bit. But in the Jewish calendar, it's a different kind of calendar. And in that calendar, which is a lunar calendar, Hanukkah always begins on the same day, but it's not in accordance with the Julian calendar that we use. And there are other calendars that all of us have. And one of the calendars that we also have is what's known as kind of a liturgical calendar, which puts us into this season of Advent that began last Sunday. And I was talking a little bit about that. And Mike was saying, why don't we have our Advent candles up? And that's a good question, Mike, and I don't have an answer for you quite now. And the thing about Advent, and I talked a little bit about this last week, and I'll continue. One of the things I talked about last week is, it was the week that we lit candles for the prophets. And the prophets aren't these sort of musty old characters that you see in stained glass windows who look really old with long beards and icons of pens and things like that. If you want to think of who the prophets were in the ancient world, in old Palestine, the time of Jesus, and even before that, the time of the very corrupt kings after Solomon, think more in terms of Paul or Jim, or especially Lee, because the prophets were poets. And they would sort of shine the light on how things were. So when we talk in terms of something being apocalyptic, what we mean it's not disastrous as much as it's reflective of where things are. And the prophets were that. And another thing that I would also say to add to that is symptoms are prophets. Symptoms are prophets. So if you look at conditions in your life that are telling you something or inviting you to wake up, that's a prophetic experience that you are having because it's calling our attention to something that basically says, if this continues the way that it's going, this is probably what you can expect to happen as a result of that. So that's kind of that energy prophetically. And all of it throws us into what we would call this liminal time, this time of between things. Advent isn't Christmas, but it isn't autumn. It's this interesting kind of time, and we're sort of in that magical in-between kind of time. Richard Rohr says it like this. He says, it's when we are betwixt and between, have left one room but have yet to enter the next room. Any hiatus between stages of life, faith, jobs, love, or relationships, it is that grace time when we are not certain or in control, when something genuinely new can happen. It is the ultimate teachable space. I love that idea that when we are in this liminal time of in between, whatever that in between may be in our life, jobs, relationships, our experience of the divine, whatever is kind of going on, how the calendar shifts and changes, those are the times when life seems to be most teachable. And it's a time that we can kind of open ourselves up. And so we ask ourselves questions seasonally, like Like, what am I in between right now? What are you in between right now from one thing to the next? What is that middle place that you may be finding yourself? And what would it feel like to stop trying to resolve it? You know, to just allow ourselves to be in the question. There was a book I remember reading in college. It was Kurt Vonnegut Jr. I was a big Kurt Vonnegut fan then. You know, it was called The Sirens of Titan. And one of the things that he talks about in that, one of the characters, is that questions are more important than answers. And if we can sit with a question long enough, the question will begin to reveal itself in such a way that it'll point the direction to where the answer may be. But most of us, because we have this obsession with certainty, don't allow ourselves the time for the questions to ferment, to kind of get juicy so that they can start revealing themselves. And what might emerge if I give it space? What could possibly happen? What would be different if we did? And what do I feel that the threshold, where do I feel that threshold in my body? In other words, what's wanting to be acknowledged through me where I am and what's happening? And I think about that myself, you know, again, you know, this moment at the hot tub moment I had this morning at 5 a.m., you know, where I was asking myself, you know, what is the guiding star of my life? What are the guiding stars of that, you know? And what I came to is that for me, it's the stories. Stories like I was sharing earlier, you know, the story of Frodo and Sam as they're in the dark of Mordor. And they're remembering the stories of the Shire. They're remembering their friends and music and food and ale and singing and all these things. And one of the things that they talk about there is that, because then they start talking about the stories of the great heroes in that particular book. And Sam says, you know, gosh, wouldn't that be something, you know, to these stories. And Frodo says, Sam, you know, we're in those stories. Those stories are revealing themselves through us. Because the reality is this, is any story that touches our soul, we become part of that story. We are the next iteration of how that story is continuing to tell itself over and over again. Just like earlier to this morning I said, you know, today we remember Pearl Harbor, because for many of us, I knew people that were part of that event and how that affected their life. But in reality, the fact of knowing them or knowing the story itself, how that affects us and how that continues to ripple. Because stories just don't begin and end. They continue to the next telling of the story and the next telling of the story. That's why myths and legends are so crucial to our journey of the soul, because they give us guiding stars or touchstones to sort of navigate our way through them. And I was thinking about this morning as I was, you know, thinking about a Christmas story. You know, we're in Advent now, and one of the most moving stories for me is, because I've shared it before, it happened in 1919 in the fields of Belgium, where on Christmas Eve there was a spontaneous truce that soldiers from both sides, they began singing Silent Night, and then the next thing you know, they began to tentatively move into the no man's land, and the next thing you know, they're swapping chocolates and brandy, and they're playing soccer. They were able to tend to their dead and wounded, but there was this instant or spontaneous organic peace that grew up in that moment until, of course, the general said, well, we can't have that. We're supposed to be having a war. You guys get back on your side. But there was this moment, and so I asked myself, you know, how is that moment still alive within me? Because that story is so important to me. And there's a couple, you know, I'm sitting with it right now, so I'm kind of sharing a little bit of the process, but a couple things grow out of that for me. One is how the longing for peace, the desire for peace, the cessation of war at any cost. There's this wonderful line again. So first Sundays were supposed to be Tolkien Sundays, and no one got interested or continued reading the books but me, so I'm reading them again. And Jeff, but you're only here once a month. Maybe you and I will go have an ale and talk this. But there's this wonderful part where there's a character by the name of Faramir. Faramir is a soldier. He's a part of Gondor. You know, he's one of the great heroes there. And he talks about they had just had this battle, and there was this dead soldier lying there, and he questions. He says, you know, did this guy, who's supposed to be my enemy, did he have a family? Did he have a wife? Did he have children? Was he really a bad guy? Or was he just kind of doing what he was supposed to be doing, and instead of being on the battlefield, just wishing he was home, tending his fields or being with the people that he loved, or whatever the case may be, right? Because, you know, there's this idea that we have to make them the enemy, but what if they're really not enemies? And there's a whole thing about that. And so for me, you know, that's the story that I'm in. Are there really enemies? You know, do I actually have myself personally, or are those enemies? And what is the stories that are being told to us to divert us from that? Which probably, just like you, it got me thinking about St. Augustine. But then there was this article that I read in the New York Times this week, and I just want to share a couple paragraphs. I won't read the whole article, but I just want to share a couple paragraphs because this article really touched me. The guy writes, and he's a former Marine, and he says, when the Trump administration officials post snuff films of alleged drug boats blowing up, of weeping migrants handcuffed by immigration officers, or of themselves in front of inmates at a brutal El Salvador prison, I often think of the story that St. Augustine told in his Confessions. In the 4th century AD, or CE, a young man by the name of Alypius arrived in Rome to study law. This is Augustine writing this. He was a decent sort. He knew the people at the center of the empire delighted in cruel gladiatorial games, and he promised himself he would not go. Eventually, though, his fellow students dragged him to a match. At first, the crowd appalled Alypius. The entire place seethed with the most monstrous delight in the cruelty, Augustine wrote, and Alypius kept his eyes shut, refusing to look at the evil all around him. But then a man fell in combat. A great roar came from the crowd, and curiosity forced open Alypius's eyes. He was struck in the soul by a wound graver than the gladiator in his body. He saw the blood, and he drank in the savagery. Riveted, he imbibed madness. Soon, Augustine said, he became a fit companion for those who had brought him. And so what he's saying here is, when we drink in the madness of the cruelty, there's an intention for this. The intention is to allow us to sink into the very madness itself. It numbs us, it titillates us, it draws us in. And there's a by intention, just like in the days of Rome, there is an intention to have us addicted to the savagery of cruelty and injustice. And this is what it means to live an empire. This is kind of what it all comes down to. So when we ask, you know, those migrants, do they have families? Do they love people? Those people in the gunboats or in Venezuela or wherever the case may be. We talked about empathy, and yet there is a design to numb us of one of the most basic aspects of our humanity. And how easy it is to point and say it's that guy or it's this person, but the reality is what we see is this has been ongoing for centuries. It's the modus operandi of what empire does to the psyche, to those who it rules. You know, they say, I think it was Nietzsche that said, or Kierkegaard was one that said, that the best way to make people feel that they are good prisoners is to convince them that they're not prisoners. And we think we're free, but the whole thing of how we get information, we're on a blackout, we're in the dark by design. And before I go further with that, I want to go where I want to go with this, which is that the Advent stories address this in different ways. And what I like to offer you for you to think about is this, is that the Christmas stories, which are all different in the four Gospels that we have, they tell different stories completely. Only one of them has magi, only one of them has, the nativity scene. John has got this whole other thing that's going on, and Mark doesn't even mention it. But think of the Advent, because of how these books were written. First of all, is to ask this question, who were these books written for and why? And I want to give an example of the Gospel of Matthew. And if you think of the Christmas story, think of it as a prologue. If you've ever gone to a symphony, there's an opening piece, which is the prologue, and it kind of tells you what the entire symphony is going to be. Or when you read a book, there's a prologue in a book, and it kind of sets the tone of what the whole story is going to be. And so the Gospels do this as well. And the Gospel of Matthew is written to a specific group of people. It's written to the Jews who were in diaspora, because there had been about 80 years prior to it being written, the Great Jewish War, in which the land of Palestine was finally the final solution of Rome to the Jews that were living in Palestine at the time. The temple of Herod had been destroyed and burned, and those who were not enslaved went into exile. And Matthew is writing to these people. It's said to be the most Jewish of the books. And I think there's two aspects of this, but I need to back up because there was an important piece that I forgot to mention. And that is Faramir, who is in the Tolkien stories. He is just. He questions. He's really an anarchist. Tolkien wasn't. Tolkien, by his own statement, said he would have been an anarchist. He despised Churchill. He referred to Churchill as a ruffian. But Faramir is sort of an anarchist because he questions the given authority of things. And in time, what you see in the story is, in order for justice to prevail, he has to break norms. He has to actually risk his life by breaking laws that were instituted for who he was. But when it came to the need of individuals, in order for something to be fulfilled, it meant that he had to sort of break away from the establishment. He was an anarchist. And Matthew tells a story very similarly. But you wouldn't see it unless you're a nerd like myself, or you were a first century Palestinian Jew, and you were reading the story and you would see things in it. And I want to give two examples about that and then swing that back. The first is, in the opening part of the Gospel of Matthew, you have the genealogy of Jesus, from Jesus down to Abraham. Luke has a whole other genealogy, but that's another story. You have this genealogy of the patriarchs and the great kings, and like if you were like me or whatever when you were a kid and you had the gospel throat sort of crammed down your throat and you're thinking of the genealogy, what has that to do with anything? It has a lot to do if you were a first century Jew, because you would know who these people were. These were the just. There were 4 women, mostly men, and all the women had been oppressed, 2 of them probably raped, but treated poorly, but they were redeemed. And so the very lineage, meaning that the story of how Jesus, who becomes the Christ, where he comes from, is in a tradition that was embodied by people who lived just lives. And they would have recognized this. They would have known that. There were also people who followed dreams. It's interesting, again, how the story of Matthew talks a lot about Joseph, and Joseph takes Jesus to Egypt, because first century Jews would have known that the descendant of Abraham, Joseph, brings his people to escape a famine. He brings them into Egypt, and they come out of Egypt, and Jesus does too, and I won't get into all the nerdy stuff about that. But the point is that the very essence of where the story continues, because it's not a one-offer, it's Jesus in this story comes to embody the continuation of a story that began with Abraham, that was about justice, and that was about compassion, and was about how one lives, and all of them had to escape or break laws in order for them to achieve the mission that they were being drawn to. Does that make sense what I'm saying that? Another story about that is this. The Magi. Now, we all know the Magi story, right? The 3 kings, we 3 kings of Orient are, blah, 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 and all that other. I always sing that, tried to smoke a rubber cigar. Remember that? We 3 kings of Orient are, tried to smoke a rubber cigar. It was loaded, it exploded, now we're in yonder star. But, so, this is unmedicated ADD. But in this story of the Magi, so the Magi are foreign individuals, of course. And they come to the court of Herod. And Herod, by the way, historically, he's a horrible person. He truly is historically. He killed most of his children and his wife so that he could achieve power. He wasn't even really a Jew. He was from an area, he was an Edomite. But Mark Antony, was the one who convinced Caesar to put Herod on the throne. And the Jews hated him. But he made all these great building projects. He built all these things, and he built the temple, and he built a ballroom. He didn't build it. He built, these palaces, and he built all these things because he was trying to get the people to like him from all the bird. But he was a terrible person. He was really, because he was just driven by power. So the Magi come to Herod, and they're like, and Herod. And it's interesting in the Gospels because it's usually the enemies of Jesus who call him the King of the Jews. It's like, where is he? Where can we go? So find him, and when you find out where he is, tell me so that I can go there, because he's so trustworthy. So they go and they find Jesus, but they have a dream. And the dream says, don't tell Herod. Go home another way. And this is an act of resistance, because for them to disobey the orders of a king would have been death. So what would have happened had they gone back and told Herod we had found him? Or what would have happened if they went back to Herod and said, we're not going to tell you? So what they do instead is they break the edict of a king. They break a law. They become anarchists. And they travel to a dream. And I think then from a metaphysical point, for me then, I begin to ask these questions. Does my dreams, do your dreams cause you to break the norms? If you are being lured by an idea, empathy, compassion, whatever it is, where does that place you in the crosshairs of that which gains from not having that? And I'm not just talking, cheating on your taxes because you have a dream of buying a big house. I mean a dream of where Spirit is guiding you. And where does that put you today in the world that we live? Or where is your guiding star taking you? Because if it's truly a guiding star, it will guide, and it's from Spirit, it will guide you away from what we would call the affects of this world. The Gospel of Matthew talks about two worlds. It's a dualistic gospel, and I know we hate that word dualism, but it's true. There is the world of empire and what that stands for and what it offers, the perks, the benefits, the duties, the obligations, and where that is. It is Pax Romana, peace through power. I can force my will to have it done. Tolkien says, that the greatest evil that there is the desire of power. Or that there's another way. And this goes back to being a nerd. Augustine again, the city of God. And Augustine writes this in the city of God. He distinguishes between the two worlds, or the two cities as he has it. He says there are the people that are bound by the rule, or bound by let me just read what I wrote here. In the city of God, Augustine distinguishes between a people bound by common loves and those ruled by a lust for domination. It's kind of black and white. There is a enrapture of our culture about power and domination. And there's a vision of common love, of empathy, of joy, of singing together, sharing together, building together. And those are kind of the challenges that this season invites us to think about. Where do we stand in this? And not only where do we stand, but like the Magi, when we encounter the gift of life, what do we do with it? Do we sell it out, or do we protect it? And in our own life, when the guidance within is speaking to us, what do we do with that? Do we numb it, or do we listen to it? Ralph Waldo Emerson says, "Beware when the great God creates a man or woman who thinks, then all creation is at risk." So, our second candle, we lit our first candle for the prophets. Let us light our second candle for the anarchists. Happy Advent.
Thanks, Trev. My son would like that one. He thinks he's an anarchist at 16. Yeah, right, exactly. Speaking of singing along like hobbits, here's one we haven't done in a while. We let love wash over us. We let it be again. We let love wash over us. We let it be. We let hope. We let hope wash over us. We let it be. We let peace. We let peace wash over us. We let it be. Let it be.
let it be. Speaking words of wisdom, let it be. We let light. We let light wash over us. We let it be. We let life. We let life wash over us. We let it be. Back to the Beatles. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Yeah, let it be. Speaking words of wisdom, let it be. We let love. We let love wash over us. We let it be. Beautiful, everybody. Beautiful. It's been a couple of years.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Lee, Jim, Rip Guy. Thank you all. This is a time of conscious giving. And may we all feel the abundance of this community. May we all know the abundance of this community. And so that when we give and we come and we see all that's here, we feel an abundance of love, of beauty, of each other. So as we give with an abundance, a feeling. So I offer, feel your abundance as you share your gift with us. How abundant you are in so many ways. So the gift of abundance, may that be with you always. We are grateful for your gifts. Thank you.
Yeah, you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm singing to you. Yeah, you. Thank you. The people coming through, people like you. People coming through, people like you.
Fabulous, thank you. So again, thank you guys for being here today, and I want to thank everybody that has been part of service today, from the first faces you saw walking in the door, which were Larry and Karen, to the food that we're going to eat by the benefit of Mike and Ann, mostly Ann, and Julieta, to our sound people back there, Steve and Jeff, to our musicians here, Jim and Lee, to our practitioner, Andrea, to whoever, Noreen, who works in the gift shop with Sherry, anybody and everybody, Mark, who makes the place look beautiful in so many ways, our board members, everybody that is part of a working community. So I want to thank everybody, and I want to thank those of you who are out there in the virtual world. Thank you for watching us. Please share, like, subscribe, all that works. It pushes us, and that's good to know that people are there out in Colorado and Oregon and every place else. Thank you for the inspiration today there, Howard. You helped me move the talk someplace. So all of that, so thank you all. Andrea, for all that you do, thank you. So, and all of that. So there is food, so please give some love to our kitchen crew as you walk out and do some feasting. I know that Lee's got to take off because he's got a gig, so here's the deal. Let him eat first. So everybody will just, here's the thing. While you are waiting for him, why don't we gather around, and then when Lee shows up, we'll say a blessing. A blessing, imagine that here in a church. We'll say a blessing for the food, and then we'll all feast. And there you have it. So, anything else need to be said? I know I forgot some things in my talk. I wanted to talk about how I really, one of the things was just really learning to appreciate people in the military for the service that they give. They can truly be noble people, and sometimes they are stuck at the effect of a story that's not theirs. They just want to be good people. So, with that, let us pray. Let us bless this day. And deep God, what a gorgeous day it is. Beautiful day. We're just so grateful to be alive. We're grateful to be surrounded by beauty. Our prayer is that today, tomorrow, and every day, that we are surprised, we are amazed, we are brought to a place of wonder and awe. We are invited to see the handiwork of the great artificer of the universe in all that is created and all that is done. May it fill us with this sense of reverence, and may that reverence guide us to a place of service. May we follow our dreams. I bless it all, giving thanks, letting it be, and so it is.
All right, this is my favorite song about metaphysical transcendence. I figured you got to play that kind of song. I was born in a crossfire hurricane, and I have at my mom in the driving rain. Yeah, but it's alright now. Matter of fact, it's a gas, but it's alright. I'm jumping jack flash. It's a gas, gas, gas. I was raised by a toothless bearded hag, and school with a strap right across my back. Yeah, 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 but it's alright now. Matter of fact, it's a guy, but it's alright. I'm jumping jack flash. It's like gas, gas, gas. I was washed up and left for dead. I fell down to my feet and I saw they bled. I was frowned at the crumbs on the crust of bread. I was crowned with a spike right through my head. Yeah, 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 but it's alright. Matter of fact, it's a guy, but it's alright. I'm jumping jack flash. It's a gas, gas, gas. Happy Sunday, everybody. Move those bodies around. Jim Jones, everyone. Jim Jones.